Bokeh Photos.
Hi and welcome. So, why would you want to watch this video? This is shadow and highlights. We already know that probably, right? But there is a very nice feature in Affinity Photo that I found recently because I'm a guy, so I obviously did not read the manual. That you can set the range for highlights and shadows in a single tool that's called Shadows and Highlights tool. But this is not the tool that you can find here because this only changes the shadows predefined. Like there is 20 or 25% of the first black darkest pixels, those are the shadows or something similar, right? And okay, this works, but there is an additional tool that you can set the range, how wide the shadows that you can control with a single slider are spread across the image. And this is how you can get this. You can go to filters and you need to click here. And there is a shadow highlights tool, but a little bit different. There is an additional slider with the range. If you can change this, nothing happens. Because you only set the range, there is no change to those. And if you can increase this here, you can see that the shadows are being changed, right? If you can increase the shadow range, everything gets brighter because the range is wider. It takes more pixels into considerations to be shadow pixels that the shadow strength slider is affecting. And that's the bottom line. But why is it important? If you, for example, have harsh highlights or black shadows and you would like to ease and smooth out the transitions between those parts, this is the perfect tool for that. I'm usually using blending range, blending some blurred copy of the image. Like there is a lot of stuff I'm doing, eventually dodge and burn manually, and it takes a lot of time. This will help me immensely and it will make my life easier, hopefully you too. I found it by accident. I finally read the manual, I started reading manual, and there you have it. And let's see how the highlights will work. Let's bump up the highlights. There aren't much highlights, there's only here, on the railway, and in the sky. And if we bump up the highlights range, we can see how the bright pixels are getting brighter because those are being considered highlights that we want to brighten up by the slider above. And that's the bottom line. Let's see additionally how does it work, for example, in a raw file. In a raw file, we also have shadows and highlights in the photo persona. Here, shadows and highlights. As they work, as you can see, this is bumping up the shadows to the max. This is bumping up the shadows to as little as possible. So pretty much now we have a silhouette. Okay, great. Bumping up the highlights pretty much bumps up the entire sky. This is almost pure white, as you can see here. We have the... yeah. This is pure white, and if we crash this, it looks very decent. There is a lot of details. So let's go with the classic view. And this is what we can actually get from an image that looks originally like this. So let's click just simply develop without any changes. And let's see how we can fiddle around with the range for the shadows and highlights tool from the filter menu. Okay. Filters, shadows and highlights. Remember to watch the histogram. So let's bump up the shadows. It's not as hard as in the regular slider, but it still works very nicely, and we can change this range. You can make this contrasty, so as you can see, not everything is bumped up that much. You can see that there are darker parts and a little bit brighter parts, so we do get a detail, and the smooth transition between the colors, in my opinion, it looks simply better, more natural. And that's it, that's the bottom line. And as you can see on the histogram, if we increase the shadow range, everything is going to right side because we increase the shadow range, more pixels are considered shadows. Since we bumped up the shadows to the max, everything will be brighter and move towards the right part of the histogram. And yeah, that's it. Let's go with the highlights just to show you how does it look. Let's decrease the highlight strength and increase the highlight range. So as you can see right now, this is not considering everything. There are parts that are not being affected that much, but if we add the range, a lot more parts are being affected by that. So with those two sliders, you can really just fiddle around and fine-tune the details you would like to get. And if you say, well, I don't care because I don't see the difference anyway, that's great, that's okay, awesome, less work for you if you are doing your pictures. But if I would like to have a particular view that I can see that something is not right for me, this is the tool that will help me save some time, and this is why I will be using this probably extensively in the end, because yeah, it's easier to add details with this in a couple of parts when lowering, for example, the highlights. Also for the shadows it works the same. And there you have it. Just wanted to share that tool with you, and if you got any questions, leave it down in the comment sections. Hit me up if you want anything or would like to see anything, and thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.